Right, we're talking to Steve Nicholson, the Derby Telegraph's chief football writer, about the upcoming East Midlands derby between the Rams and Forest. It's an East Midlands derby, Steve, in which one team goes in on a real high and another on a real low. It's not for the first time, of course, but the gap is quite pronounced at the moment. Will that be a big factor?
I mean, I don't go with this saying that form book goes out of the window, because form is form, and if you're in good form you are, and if you're not, you're not. Derby are in good form. They're unbeaten in 10 games. Forest are struggling at the moment, as we know. They haven't won in 8 games, so it all points to Derby, a Derby win. But it's not as straightforward as that. Now, I've covered too many of these games. I think this will be my 23rd as chief football writer for the Telegraph, and I've seen all sorts of different outcomes and all sorts of different stories on and off the field. And also there's examples, of course, of the form team not doing particularly well. You know, I remember last season, if we remember, at the iPro Stadium, Forest came under Stuart Pearce. I think they'd won only 2 of the last 20 matches. They were struggling, they'd sunk down the table. On the other hand, Derby under Steve McLaren were flying high. They had kind of won 4 and drawn 1 of the previous 5. They had 4 consecutive clean sheets, and Forest won the game 2-1 with a injury time winner from Ben Osborne. But then if I flip back to January 2010, Nigel Clough's Derby team, Derby had lost a few weeks earlier at City Ground. They'd been beaten heavily 5-2, not a good night. So a few weeks later, everyone thought Forest would come here and win under Billy Davis. They were unbeaten in 19 games at the time. They were seemingly unbeatable on the road, we were told. They were second in the table. Derby hadn't won in 6. They were looking over their shoulder at the relegation battle. But again, Derby pulled a win out. 8 minutes from time, free kick on the right. Chris Commons delivered it. Header from Rob Hull's powered past Lee Camp. 1-0 victory. It sparked the old later in the game, the old knee gate affair, when the melee on the touchline between players and members of the coaching staff. We had all that afterwards as well. But it just shows that this game is capable of throwing up anything, you know, and that's why we look at form before the games, and it's best to be in form, not out of form. But really, we just have to wait for the game itself.
Of course. It's also Paul Clement's first taste of a Rams Forest derby. He strikes us as the sort of man who'll take that in his stride. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I think he will. I think I've been very impressed with him since he's been appointed as Derby's head coach. His record is very good, as we know. It's unbeaten in 10 games. He's very thorough in his preparation. He leaves no stone unturned. He's very calm, very considered in his outlook to games. Also, people have got to remember, I know this is his first position as head coach or manager, but he's worked at some big clubs and in some massive games, you know. And he mentioned today about the Real Madrid Atletico Madrid derby, which he said is absolutely ferocious. And in his first season at Madrid, they played each other 9 times, believe it or not, in a season, which is absolutely incredible. So he knows about big derby games. But as I say, his preparations will be thorough. I don't think it'll take him by surprise. Interestingly, he's asked already the players who've played in these games before, the likes of Richard Keogh, Craig Bryson, Jeff Hendrick, Lee Grant, Jake Buxton. He's asked these guys, what's it like? Tell me what the game is like. And that shows you that he's a coach that has an open mind and is willing to listen to other people to get a real taste of what to expect tomorrow night.
Okay. Steve, which of the recent Derby Forest clashes really stands out for you?
Well, you know, there's so many, as I say. You know, that win that when Rob Hull scored against the Odds, that was a good one. But I always go back to the FA Cup game, replay game at the City Ground, where Derby and Forest had drawn here at what was then Pride Park, went to the City Ground, and within 14 minutes Derby were 2 down, and you thought, oh dear, this looks like it could be 4-5, it could be very, very painful. And they turned it round and won 3-2, and that was a really, really good night. And then of course the game when they went there and won with 10 men. You know, Frank Fielding was sent off in the first minute. Derby fell 1-0 down. You thought, oh, this could be painful as well. But they came back. Jamie Ward, who now plays for Forest, equalised, and then Jeff Hendrick got the winner. So that was a special day.
Okay. All set up for a great clash. Thanks, Steve.